The second biggest myth is um, that there's any one major component in your signal chain that is what is responsible for your good tone. It's like so many times I see people look at their favorite artist and basically attribute that artist's tone or great tone to either the guitar he's playing, the amp he's playing, or the specific pedal that he has on the floor. And in actuality, nothing can be more false than that statement. Your tone is the sum of all its parts, meaning every piece of your signal chain is combined in order to create the tone that you have. Also to be noted is that your tone can be greatly, not greatly, but you can get your tone out of, I won't say all setups, but most setups can be tweaked in a way to get your tone out of it. Me and a friend once were talking about our favorite artist, and we basically took his and mine and we kind of timelined their sound um, as opposed to all the different gear that they had switched to over the years. And the thing that we had noticed with both of our artists was that although over the years the gear that they publicly used, the gear that they possibly endorsed, the gear listed that they used on all of their albums, the stuff that we knew that we had seen them play live, the one constant in all that was the basis of their tone really never changed. It may have morphed a little here and a little there, but basically they still sounded like them from beginning to end, regardless of the gear that they played. Some really good examples of that really are, uh, and with the exception of maybe more gain here, less gain there, but we're just talking about, the basic baseline of their tone. Over the years, Steve Vai has used oh, so much different gear, but his overall tone, he sounds like Vai. I mean, you can pick up most of his albums, and within a couple of notes, you go, "Oh, that's Steve Vai." And it's not just the quirkiness; it is the tone that he plays. Even my daughter, I remember riding in the car once, and my daughter, when she was 6, heard a tune that wasn't even a Steve Vai song. It was a song that he was doing a guest spot on, and he was just playing. And when his guitar came on, she's like, "Oh, that's Steve Vai." I mean, even at 6, she was able to pick up on the fact that he has a very distinctive tone. Well, that tone over the years has shifted slightly, but for the most part, it stayed the same. The same can be said with Eddie Van Halen. Uh, Eddie's tone has shifted a little here and there, but for the most part, Eddie sounds like Eddie, and he always has. Whether he's using his original 5150s through PV, his 5150s through EVH, or the old Marshalls, the old modded Marshalls that got him started, he still sounds like Eddie when you listen to him play. So yeah, so I mean, that's just going to say that none of those guys' rigs today is anywhere reminiscent of the rigs they started off with, but yet their tone is still kind of staying very similar. Same thing with Joe Satriani. Joe Satriani started off with just basically Marshall amp and pedals in the front, and then at one point he was playing a PV signature amp, and now he's back with Marshall with a signature amp, but he still sounds like Joe. So don't get locked into thinking that you're going to go out and buy one piece of gear and you're going to sound like your favorite guitar player, because you're just not. It's not that simple. And it's not even as simple as buying everything that you know that or that you can see that they're playing, because you cannot see beyond the veil. You don't know what's running in their rack in the background. You don't know what's going on behind stage, what's mic that you can't see. It's there's so much more to it. And also the fact of the matter is when you're listening to your artist through your stereo, when you're listening to them at concert through a PA, you're not hearing the raw sound of their amp. You're hearing that amp signal after it's gone through a microphone, which changes the tonal characteristics of what you're hearing, and it's going through the board, which is changing it, altering it ever so slightly, and there's compression being added to that. So, and so when you're hearing the recorded version of the amplifier, you're really not hearing the truest representation of the amplifier. The truest representation of the amplifier would be standing in the room with the amp and just listening to them play, because affect all those things are affected. Like I said, even the microphone, you could put two different microphones on a 412 cabinet, and the recorded product's going to be very different. You put a Sennheiser 609 on a cabinet and a Shure SM57, those two guitar tones won't be anywhere near each other, but you haven't changed anything. All you've done is change the microphone. So anyway, so that's just like I said. That's just going in to say that there's really no one thing that affects your tone that drastically. If there was one thing I could say that would be the biggest, most drastic difference to your tone you could make, it would be changing the speakers in your cabinet. That will probably yield the biggest, most discernible tonal difference from what you had previously, would be changing the speakers in your speaker cabinet.